In order to make a table of values, what did you need to do in the 9th grade? Pardon me? Yes, of course. You input some numbers on the x side. We didn't call them inputs in grade 9. We told you choose some x values and put them in the x side. In grade 10, we started calling those inputs. So give me 3 numbers. Great. 3 is enough. Then what did you do with those 3 numbers? You put them into the equation. You input them. So the first thing you did was you said y equals x, which is -2 plus 5, which gives you what number? 3. Then you did it here, -1 plus 5, which gave you what number? 4. And then 0 plus 5, which gave you what number? 5. And that gave you 3 ordered pairs. -2, 3, -1, 4, and 0, 5, which you could then put on a graph. -2, 3, -1, 4, 0, 5, and make a line. That's all of grade 9's linear relations, yes? All of you know that already. Yeah? In grade 10, we made a slight change. We went from x to y to IV dv, right? Did anything else change? No. We took the same values, IV, -2, -1, 0, plugged them into the equation, got 3, 4, 5, and ended up with IVs of -2, DVs of 3, which gave us ordered pairs of -2, 3, -1, 4, and 0, 5. Right? That was grade 10. Agreed? For grade 10 and on, we are going to use what is called function notation, which I've written right on the top. Function notation is simply this. What do you notice that is the same in grade 10 and beyond as grade 10 and down? Ash.
What's on the other side of the equal sign?
Right. The math that you are going to do stays the same, yes? Which means if you were going to make a table of values here, what would it look like? What would go here? No. At the top. X, and what would go here? F of x. This is now your output, as opposed to dv or y. This is still your input. This is the name of the function. Because if I give you more than one function, for example, if I wrote right here y equals x minus 7, and I told you, or I asked you, what are the y values that I am thinking of? Could you tell me right now? Why not, Eric? Exactly. Because I've given you 2 sets of y values, haven't I? Right? But if I told you I wanted the f of x, and I want the y values for it, could you then do it? Why? Because you know I'm speaking of that particular operation. Is everybody with me? Just like if I were to say, raise your left hand. I only wanted one of you to raise your left hand. Why did you all raise your left hand? Because I didn't give it a name, did I? Right? Eric, raise your left hand.
Aye.
Now you know of whom I am speaking, correct? The F is simply the name. The X is still the input. So, if I were to use the same numbers, negative 2, negative 1, 0. Instead of writing them in, that x is now negative 2. So my output would be the f of negative 2. Since that x is now negative 2, f of x is x minus 7. What would I write here? Negative 2 minus 7, which would give me negative 9. And that would give me an ordered pair of what? What would the point on the graph be? Negative 2, negative 9. Does everyone understand? Instead of writing y, we write f of x. Whatever number goes in there, x, goes in there for x. It's not complicated. It's the exact same thing you've always done, except instead of x and y, it's got a new name. Right? It would be like if Eric came in here one day and decided he wanted to be called by his middle name, which is Lincoln. Eric would come in and say, I would say, Eric, raise your left hand. And he, being a high school student, would go. And I would say, Eric, raise your left hand. Lincoln, raise your left hand. Understand? He's still Eric. The instructions are still the same, but now I'm calling him Lincoln. Everybody got it? So everybody got it? You want to be Lincoln now?
Sure.
Okay. Now, right now, in this first example, am I set up pre-grade 10 or post-grade 10? Pre-grade 10. How do you know? Because it's y and x, right? Do I have some x values? Yes. What are they? Negative 2, 0, 1, and 4. So, what does that mean? What am I going to do to figure out how to fill in each box? How am I going to fill in the yellow box? What would I do if this was grade 9? I would take the equation, y equals 1/2 x minus 2. And what would I do with my input values? I would input them. Where, Kingston? Where the x is. Are you sure you're Kingston? Okay, just making sure, because Kingston wouldn't have been able to give me that many answers in a row. Hi, Jared. Good to meet you. So, the first value is 1/2 times what? Negative 2 minus 2. What is 1/2 times negative 2? Negative 1. Negative 1 minus 2. What is negative 1 minus 2? Negative 3. So now y equals negative 3 when x equals what? Negative 2. So that must go where in my chart? Where the yellow box is. Negative 3. Does that give me an ordered pair? What is it? Negative 2, negative 3, which I could put on a graph, right? Great. Now, what's the next one I'm going to do? I still have y equals 1/2 x minus 2, but what's my new input? 0. 1/2 times 0 minus 2. What is 1/2 times 0? 0 minus 2? Maybe we should check with Jared. What then? What does y equal when x equals what? So where does that get written? Where it's blue. What's the ordered pair? 0, negative 2. We'll do that this time. Pay attention, okay? Third one. Y equals 1/2 x, forget the bracket, 1/2 x minus 2. What is my x value now? 1. 1/2 times 1 minus 2. What is 1/2 times 1? 1/2. What is 1/2 take away 2? negative 1.5. Right? So what is y? Where does that get written? Green square. Negative 1.5. And what is my ordered pair? 1 and negative 1.5. And finally, y still equals 1/2 x minus 2, but what is x now? 1/2 of 4 minus 2. What's half of 4? 2. What is 2 minus 2? 0. 2 minus 2, which equals 0. That equals y. So, what do I write in my last box? 0. And what is my ordered pair? 4, 0. Can everybody do grade 9? Now, I know it's made slightly more difficult by putting a fraction there. Why did I put a fraction there? Practice harder than you play the game. Is it possible to put a fraction into math somewhere? Yes. So you should know how to deal with them. I'd like to think that you would be perfectly fine if that was not a half. If it was 2, you could do the same thing. I'd like to think you could do that in your head easily. That is why I'm giving you fractions now while I can guide you through it. Is everyone good? Lovely. What is different in number 2 than number 1? It's written in a different notation. So we are used to seeing this written like this. Oops. We'll just wait a second. How are we used to seeing this written? Let's just say it. Y equals 2x minus 7. That's what we're used to seeing, but that's not what we have now. Now we have f of x. I am looking for 2 values, aren't I? One of the values I am looking for is the f of 2. What has that x become? 2. So what should that x become? 2. I input a 2. And what is my value? What is 2 times 2? 4 minus 7, negative 3. So the f of 2 is negative 3. What then is the ordered pair? 2, negative 3. Because the 2 was an x value. Is everyone good? Great. You do the next one. I do not want the f of 2. I want the f of negative 3. So what do you do? Get a text, apparently. Maybe. How do I deal with this? What does x become? So what do I write? What is 2 times negative 3? Negative 6 minus 7, which is what? So what is the f of negative 3? Negative 13. So what then is the ordered pair? Now, put those 2 points on a graph. 2, negative 3. And negative 3 way up at 13. And there's my graph. What? Oh, crap on a bun. There's my graph. Thank you. I am going to stop for a moment because this is as complicated mathematically as this gets. Is there anybody that cannot understand the subbing in of whatever value is there every time you see an X? Is everyone okay? Is everyone okay? What if it was this? What would then have to be written over here? Could I write f of x? F of a. Everybody got it? What if I changed it to 6a plus 4? Could I write f of a here? Yes or no? I could? Why not?
Because it has to be different.
It has to be different. So what could I write here? I wouldn't use B. It's not that. That's not the letter that would change. Which is the letter that names the function? Right. I would have to have a G of A because this is a whole new function. Is everybody good? Are you lying to me? If it was grade 3 and I had the little red light, yellow light, green light signs, and you were to hold up the sign, you would all at least be holding up a yellow light right now, right? I am giving you all the chance to hold up a red light now. Yes.
If you're colorblind, how do you see the lights and stuff? When you try
Red's top.
Oh.
You can still see that it's lit up. And colorblind doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means. Colorblind means you either can't see red and green or you can't see blue and yellow. And it's not that you don't see them, you see them in a different color. My friend is red-green colorblind, and what he sees as, he does not see red. When he sees something that we see as red, he sees it as what we would call brown. So he stops at brown lights.
What's green then?
I've never asked.
You could ask them. It's red.
Okay. Now you could ask, it becomes problematic if you're in one of the countries that puts their stoplights horizontally. Because there are lots of countries that do that, including Alberta, even though it's not another country. Because Alberta is so windy, if you have vertical stoplights, they're always blowing and you can't see them. So they put them horizontal. All right. Everyone is good? No one is lying? All right. Let's see. Number 3, what have I done? It's just got a g of x instead of a y. So, if I want to graph it, I'm going to need some points on the graph, yes? Those points on the graph are always ordered pairs. But in grade 10, an ordered pair we remember is x and an f of x. Or in this case, a g of x. Wonderful. So we start the same way. The function with which we are working is right here. I need to find how many g's? 3. I need the g of 6. How will I do that? I input 6 where, Lincoln? Where x is. Negative 2/3, 6 plus 1. Now, again, it's not the fact that we're multiplying that is causing you a problem. It's the fact that it's a fraction. So, what is negative 2 times 6? Negative 12 over 3 plus 1. What is negative 12 divided by 3? 4, negative 4 plus 1, which is negative 3. What is my first ordered pair? What is the x? 6. What is the y? Negative 3. Put it on the graph. Where is 6, negative 3? No, it's not D. Where is 6, negative 3?
On the graph.
It's 6.
6 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And down. 1, 2, 3. Are you good? Everyone? Great. What's the next one we're going to do? The g of what? Negative 3, which means negative 2 thirds times what? Negative 3 plus 1. Two negatives make what? Positive, and what happens to the 3's? Cancel out. So I have 2 plus 1. What is that? 3. What's the ordered pair? Negative 3, 3. Put it on the graph. When you're done doing that, work with 0. What is it? 1. So the ordered pair is 0, 1. 0, 1. Now, do I connect the line? Is this discrete or continuous data?
It's a certain one.
It's discrete though.
Why is it discrete? Because you have certain points that you don't have.
But could you do it with any number? You could easily.
Could I put any number in for x, multiply it by 2/3, and add 1 to the result? Yes or no? Yes. So is it continuous data?
Yes.
Yes, because I can input any number and get an output.
Let's go, Corey. We did it.
Is everybody good? So I would connect this line.
But what if we didn't connect it? What would we do?
Yes.
Yes, you would lose some credit. Is everybody good? I'm not going to forget my arrows. Bryce has given away my next question. What is the domain and range of this? Infinite for both. Because I can have x's forever and I can have x's forever, and that is going to eventually cover every single y and every single x. Every single negative y. Are we all good? Excellent. Now,
Excellent.
what is different about 4? Look at it closely.
It wants to use the same.
I'm still using g of x, aren't I? So what is the equation with which I am working?
I think the only outcome is only 7.
Since I'm using g, I still am using the g of x, yes? Okay. What's different? I know the g of x. Do I know x? So where does that 7 go? It can't go in for x. Where does it go? In for g of x. This whole thing is g of x. What is the g of x right now? 7. So what do I write there instead of g of x? 7. Is there an unknown here? The x. Can I find it? Yes. How? How do I find every unknown in every math situation when there's an equal sign? You get rid of everything else till x is isolated. How do I get rid of plus 1? Minus 1. Where else? So now what do I have? 6 equals negative 2/3 x. How do I get rid of divided by 3? Multiply by 3. So what's on the left side now? 18. What's on the right side? No.
2x.
Negative 2x. How do I get rid of negative 2? Divide by negative 2. No, because this is multiplication. What is the final answer? Negative 9 equals x. So what then is my ordered pair?
7, 9, and 7.
No.
I mean, 7 and negative 9.
No. Negative 9.
And, 6? No, what number did you use?
7.
Oh, it's right.
So, where is that? I go out to negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And oh my good gravy, it would be right on the line. Is everybody good? Please notice there are two things happening here. You have to understand how to work with function notation, and you have to remember your grade 7 algebra. Please note they are two different things. Is everybody cool? What we have done so far is we have been finding our points algebraically. We have been doing all math, haven't we? Is everybody cool? Good. We are going to work through number 5 together, then you are going to do number 6. I have a new function. It is now m of x. I need the m of 7. What do? I replace the x with what? What is 4 times 7? 28 over 3, correct? Right? Plus 2. But I can't add 2 to this because it's not got the same denominator. What is the denominator that I need here? Right. 28. Actually, no. It's 3. Because this guy is 2 over 1, correct? How do I make that a 3? Multiply by 3, multiply by 3. So now I have 6 over 3. What is 28 thirds plus 6 thirds? 34 thirds, which is 11 and 1/3, correct?
Yes.
What then is the ordered pair? 7 and 11 and 1/3. Everybody good? Concept A, how to work with this. Everybody's thumbs up, right? You just sub in. Concept B, working with fractions. Everybody's thumbs turn a little bit down. Is it because you don't know how to deal with fractions or because you don't know how to deal with subbing in? You know as well as I do, it's the fractions. So don't tell me you don't know how to do your grade 10 work when it's because you haven't practiced your grade 6 work. Everybody okay? Let's do the next one. What is my next m? M of what? 1. So what do I write? 4 thirds times 1 plus 2. What's 4 thirds times 1? 4 thirds plus 2. But 2 isn't what we want. We need thirds, so it's 4 thirds plus 6 thirds to get what? 10 thirds, which is what? 3 and 1/3. So what then, ladies and gentlemen, is my second ordered pair? Hey, Mr. Como. 1 and 3 and 1/3. What is different about my third situation? I know my m of x. Do I know my x value? So my x value is got to stay an x, doesn't it? So instead of m of 1, I know my m of x. But I know my m of x in this case is what? So what do I write instead of m of x? 5. Not m of 5. 5 equals. Can everyone explain why it is 5 and not m of 5?
Because you don't know the x, you know the m of x.
I don't know the x, which is our what? Input or output? I don't know my input, but I have an output. So now I have to find that input. How will I solve this? Again, is this a current concept or something you already know? Something you already know. The current concept is putting a 5 there or a 1 there. And we're all on board with that, right? So let's call our minds back. We've just worked through this whole one. Now we're going to do it here. Go ahead, use your algebra that you already have, and tell me what the ordered pair here is going to be. You may work with a neighbor, it's not a test. If you finish and you feel you're ready, try number 6 on your own. Thinking to yourself, why is it an H instead of an M? I know that some of you are uncomfortable with the algebra, but just go step by step. Your final job is to get x by itself, right? So what there do I want to get rid of? I eventually have to get rid of the fraction, right? But if I was driving to Disneyland, would I start in Disneyland? No, I start far away from Disneyland, don't I? So where should I start in math? If I want to end up with x by itself, where should I start? Far away from x. What's furthest thing away from x here? How am I going to get rid of that 2? I'm going to subtract 2. If I subtract 2, that changes the equality, doesn't it? It has taken 2 away from the right side. How do I make sure it stays equal? I take 2 away from the left side. 3 equals 4/3 x. Now, I don't like that there's a divide by 3. What do I do to get rid of it? Multiply. The 3's disappear. And now I have 9 equals 4x. How do I get rid of the 4? And what does x equal?
2 1/4.
Right, 9/4, but we wouldn't like that because that's hard to put on a graph.
2 1/4.
But 2 1/4 isn't. What is our ordered pair now? This is where it gets tricky. Lincoln.
5 and 2 1/4.
Oh.
The other way around.
Why is it the other way around?
Because the x is.
Because the x is 2 1/4. You should be pretty confident in yourself because you just did 20 steps in a row and mixed up one little thing at the end. Is everybody cool? Yellow lights? At least? Green? Well, look at you. Don't speed. If you speed, you're going to hit a red light at the next intersection. Lights are timed.
We'll do that. It's fine.
Oh. It's like 3 a.m, right? There's nobody crossing.
Exactly.
All right. All of you now attempt number 6. There's still a fraction. You know how to do it. Try your best. If you can't multiply fractions, use your calculator. Okay? Well, 1/4 on your calculator is 0.25, right? Because it's 1 divided by 4. So instead of, you could do this on your calculator as negative 0.25x. It would be better if you didn't, but And when you have finished that, you get to have a stretch. We can limber up a little because we are going to move away from algebra and into doing the same thing, but with a graph. Go. Just do as much as you can. All right, we're back. Almost everybody. We are switching to picture. Now, notice on this graph, there are two lines, yes? Parabola. A patella is your kneecap. Okay, so you will notice that each line got a different name because each line represents a different equation. Is everybody okay with that concept? If I put a third line on here, could I call that third line f of x? Could I call it g of x? Could I call it a of x? Yes. Is everybody cool with that concept? Good. Now, given the graph, I have my graph, I want to find some values. So looking at 7a, am I going to be looking at the f of x curve or the g of x line? The f of x curve. How do you know that, Ash? Because it says I'm dealing with f. Is everybody good with that concept? Green light? Okay. Now, f of x, this line will tell me every value for f of x. In this case, how many values am I seeking? Am I looking for the entire line, or in this case curve, or am I looking at one specific spot on the curve? One specific spot. And that specific spot occurs where the f is -3. Where do I search for this -3? It must either be on the x-axis or the y-axis. Which one is it? Yes, it is the x-axis because this x has become -3. So, this means I'm looking at the x value of -3. Where is that value? Where on this graph is the single point where x is -3? Right there. Agreed? Now, everywhere on this line is x equals -3, correct? but I want the specific value on the f of x curve, which is where? Right there, correct? So what is the y value? -2. So this, the f of -3, is -2. So the f of -3 equals -2. And what is my ordered pair? -3, -2. Everybody at least a yellow light? Everybody? Okay. Then tell me the f. This is where you prove if you're at least a yellow light. Tell me the f of -4. Don't say it out loud, just write it down. I'm going to erase all my work so you don't have anything in the way of your work. When you think you have it, tug on your right ear.
If I only knew my left ear.
Well, then you wouldn't have it.
Right. Right. What if I took on both ears? Maybe so.
All right.
Then you're magical.
Am I looking at x or y of -4? X, because it's changed from the x. So I go out to -4. But I don't want every value. I want the -4 on what curve? The f of x curve, which is right here. Since I know the x value, I need to find the y value. And what is it? 1. So the f of -4 equals 1, and the point is -4, 1. Is everybody good? Awesome. What's different in B? It's G. So I'm looking at the G curve, which in this case happens to be a straight line. Is everybody good? Am I looking for an x or a y value there? An x value. X of 0. Where is x equals 0? Right there. But I don't want every x equals 0. I want the x equals 0 at the specific spot on the G line, which is where? Right there, correct? So the G of 0 equals 2. What is the ordered pair? 0, 2. Is everybody at least at a yellow light? Great. Now tell me the G of 3. When you think you have it, pat yourself on the head. You're all out. All right. But seriously, folks, where do I go?
You go to 3.
To x is 3, and I want a specific spot where x is 3, which is this forever, correct? I only care about it where it is on the g of x curve, which is right there. So what is it? -1. So what's my ordered pair? 3, -1. Is everybody Gouda? Great. Let's check C. Where is x -2? There, x is -2. Am I looking on the G or the F curve now? F. So I need somewhere on that line, and I care about it on the F curve, which gets me what? F of -2 equals -3. So what's the ordered pair? -2, -3. Is everybody good? Okay, now I am really going to mess with your heads. This is going to make some of you go, "Meh," but I hope not. What then is the F of -1.5?
Oh, I don't like you, but I know what it is.
Does anything change even though it's a fraction?
Nope, not
No. So where do I go? To negative 1.5, which is about there, yes? Then I make the line. I'm only going to draw the line downwards because I only care about the F curve, right? Then I'm going to go across, and what is my answer? Approximately. 2 3/4, fine. So that would be 2.75. So what would the ordered pair be? Negative 1.5 and negative 2.75. Is everybody good when you get the input?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think happens in D? What's different?
You go backwards.
I go backwards. I know my output. Where do I find outputs?
On the Y.
On the y-axis. So where do I go here? Up 1 to y equals 1. And now I find the x value. Am I already on the F curve? What is the x value? 0. F of x when y equals negative 1, or y equals 1, the f of x equals 1, so it's the x equals 0, because it's right there. Is everybody good? Yeah? So what's the ordered pair? 0, 1. Everybody cool? All right. Now tell me what x is when if I want the f. Come on. If I want the f of 3. Wait, I just did that wrong. Damn it. F of x equals 3. Where do I go? Up to 3. And I find the F curve right there. And what do I get?
0.5.
About 0.5, correct? Is everybody cool? What if I now told you, everyone feels they're really cool and gets this now, yes? What if I told you you're wrong? Would it bother you? What if I told you you were half right? Would that make you feel better?
I just go for it, man. I take whatever I can get.
All right. Is everybody cool with that being my f of x of 1?
Yes.
Which means I need everywhere that curve hits 1. What happens right there? It hits 1 again. So what is the other value x could have? Negative 4. It's also negative 4, 1. Does everybody get that one? Right? On a curve, it's possible that it happens more than once. Is everybody cool? Okay. What's E? Am I looking on the curve or the line? The line. So where do I go? Up 3. And now I need to find the x value where I hit that line. So I go over to the line, and what do I find? So what's the point? What's the ordered pair? Negative 1, 3. Are you good? Great. You try it for F and G, and then we're 99% done. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit so I can have the graph and the question on the screen at once. All of you try these two. Muy bueno, Senor Tomlins.
Hola.
Hola. ¿Cómo se llama usted? Me llamo Mateo. ¿Cómo se llama usted? Me llamo Mateo. Me llamo Senor Myers. ¿Cómo se llama usted? Huh? Me llamo Senor Myers. ¿Cómo se llama usted?
What is your name? My name Edward.
Me llamo Kingston. Done.
Oh, my name is.
Well, it's literally, I am called Matthew. Or Mr. Myers. What are you called? Or how do you call yours? I can't remember exactly
How do
the
you call
print.
yourself?
Yeah.
I call myself.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Myers, am I doing something really funny?
C.
I went to bed at 9 o'clock last night.
Why is that funny?
Because.
I went to bed at 11:30 because I couldn't stop watching the episodes I have in my PVR of Last Man on Earth. It was a great 4 episodes in a row.
It's on Netflix.
I know, but not the newest season.
Oh, that's right, there's more.
Yes. And I watched 3 episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but the last episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine was very dark. It wasn't very funny.
Oh, no. Don't spoil that.
I won't spoil it. I'm just saying it wasn't very funny. It's on right now. It's on TV. I know, you guys can't possibly understand having to wait a week to see the next episode. I know, it's crazy. All right. G of 4.
Oh, it's out.
Where do I go?
You go to 4.
Out to 4. And then down a G. What about F? Or sorry, letter G, function F. Where do I go?
You go to -2.
On which axis, Lincoln?
Y-axis.
On the y-axis. And what do I find?
2 of them.
2 of them. What are they?
-1 and -2.
-1, -2, and? -3, -2. Can everybody work algebraically? Subbing stuff in, multiplying, adding, subtracting, dividing? And picture. Go to the x value, find the y value, or go to the y value, find the x value. Can everybody do both?
Pictures are easier.
Some people will find pictures easier, some people will find the algebra easier. Is everybody good? All right. If you are good, you are going to be able to do what I am about to ask you to do. Because of course you know, if I leave that much white space, there's more to be done. All of you write this down. And I'm going to make it easy. I won't put any fractions in it because I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Thank you. already did.
3x plus 2. Is that a function right now? Or is it just an expression? It's just an expression. What would I have to do to make it a function? I would have to give it an equal sign and the name, right? So I'm going to name this guy J of x. Everybody cool? Now, if I write another function and it's not 3x plus 2, am I allowed to call it J?
No.
No. So I'm going to go ahead and write another function. 4 minus 6x. Everybody cool? And that I'm going to call k of x. Is everybody good? Is everybody good? Everyone's good? Okay. Now I want you to tell me, I'm going to write some stuff, and I want you to do the following. Right now, put on your happiest face. And keep that face happy as long as you feel you could do what I'm going to ask you to do. How many of you are keeping a happy face if I ask you for the J of 3? I see happy faces. Good. Great. Now I want the K of the J of 3. Go. You already had all happy faces there. You should be able to figure this out.
It should have been JK. That would have been fine.
You should ask them to find when J and X equals to
Stop it.
Oh, sorry.
You know what he said?
Sorry, don't do that. Do that. Yeah.
Go.
Mr. Guy, I'm hungry. It is Bryce.
Remember, I have given you all the tools you need to solve this. You just need to put it together.
Okay. So I assume you just don't know where to start.
Yeah.
If say there wasn't another, say J and X wasn't in there, say it was just
I'm fully aware most of you are going to have trouble with this, which is why I'm going to go through it in a moment, and then I'm going to get you to try it again on your own.
Don't worry, I'm fine.
I know some of you will be fine because I did a good job of explaining it. If you were paying attention all the way along, you're fine right now.
I did it.
I like having stuff like that on the board for when parents come in, because then they think that crazy stuff's going on in here.
Yeah, that's basically what I put it.
Don't erase it, guys. Oh, erase it.
Yeah, that's alright.
See, it's just trash for them too.
Okay. How many people have no idea where to start?
Me!
Okay. Why do you think I did that happy face thing?
Well, you didn't listen to me when I said I didn't have a happy face.
When I started right there, what would you have done?
Cried.
Which of these am I going to work with? Green or black?
Green.
Green. So it would be the J of 3 is what? 3 times what? 3 plus 2, correct? What is 3 times 3? Plus 2? So the J of 3 equals 11, yes? But I wanted the K of the J of 3. What is J of 3?
11.
So what goes here?
11.
So don't I want the K of 11?
Yes.
Great. What's the K of 11?
33. 17.
K of 11 is 4 minus 6 times 11.
Hey, he's back.
Because I need K,
Welcome back, senor.
which is 4 minus 66, which is negative 62. Is everybody good?
I understand now.
All right. If you didn't understand it when I wrote it at first, try this one. Try that one now. Now you've seen how to do it, you should be able to apply it. Where do you start? In or out? In first. So where should you be looking first? The n function or the m function? N. So the first thing you need is what? The n of what? What is the n of 3?
7 plus 3, 9, 10, 11.
7 plus 3 is 11.
I did it on my head.
So if you think that's supposed to make it better? That you said 7 plus 3 is 11 and your defense is you did it in your head?
I did this on my head. I think I got the right answer.
N of 3 is 10. If the n of 3 is 10, can't that 10 go right there? So don't, when I'm asked for the m of the n of 3, aren't I really asking for the m of 10?
Yeah.
And what do?
You do the math.
2 minus 3 times 10, because now I'm on the m function. What is 2 minus 3 times 10? Negative 28. Now, what is the ordered pair for that? What is the x and y point for that? What's the x? 10.
Oh, yes.
What's the y?
28.
Negative 28. Are you all good? Good. Now, listen to me carefully. We are out of time on the quiz. Your assignment, your homework for tonight, again, looks huge because there is all kinds of drawings. All right? All the material from page 167 to 171, partway down, is the stuff we have just done. It gets progressively more difficult. If you want an A, you need to make sure you can do the most difficult ones. If you are happy with a C, do the first couple.
I'm gonna go straight to the hardest one.
Okay? Go. You are quizzing on everything in lesson 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3 tomorrow. You will have no quizzing on discrete and continuous data or on function notation. Your quiz tomorrow is only on reading a graph. Oh, I wrote it right up there. IV, DV, domain, and range. And I probably should add reading a graph.
What does intercept mean?
Okay. Yes. What? Go back. Yes. Louis just asked a question that I often forget because you should already know because you all went through grade 9.
I already forgot what the term is.
There's a line, yes? The x-intercept is where? The x-intercept. Right there, where the line crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is where? There. That's the x-intercept. That's the y-intercept. So this would, like Ash says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like those complicated 7 plus 3 questions, right? Yeah. Which part? Okay, I'll come to you. Can I turn off the recording?
No.